Hi, this is Angel Jones. I love great conversations where life's journey is communicated not only through words, but tones and emotions. Explosive expressions that allow you to feel what they felt and learned. A fool learns only from his own mistake, while the wise learn from their own and from those others have made. Thanks for being here with us. Good day, John Unal. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I'm very well, Angel. Thank you. It's sunshine in Brisbane, in Australia, so I can't complain. Birds are singing, so it's a beautiful afternoon. It's 1:34 p.m. in the afternoon, so the day has been nice and relaxing.
Wonderful. Well, it's night here. We're winding up the day of Tuesday in Trinidad right now. Well, it's been an amazing day. I spoke to someone in Australia on the Gold Coast earlier, and there's a bird that I keep hearing. It's that high squawk, if you may. What type of bird is it? When I hear it again, I'll point it out.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
There it is. There it was.
It's a noisy miner, I think.
Okay.
There's a bunch of them around, so you might hear quite a bit.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. So John, tell me, which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
Angela, I would say my skill around mindfulness or the meditation that I've been doing over the last 10 years, I think brings us together at the moment. Which I've been teaching in the last couple of years as well. And I have seen incredible effects within my life, and I use this with people when I work with them, and they're getting amazing results as well. So, and I'm happy to spread this consciousness, which is mindful awareness of the present moment. So this is why we are connecting today.
Amazing. Who did you learn this skill from, John?
What happened was, Angel, at the time, about 10 years ago, I was going through a very rough time in my life, battling through depression, which I didn't know at the time. So I went to see I thought something was wrong with my brain because I was feeling horrible. So I went to see a neurologist just to make sure that my brain was okay. They had some scans, and it turned out my brain was normal, but I was depressed. And at the time, this is all before my counseling and psychotherapy study, so I actually didn't know much about what was going on in terms of, moods, emotions, and things like that. So he gave me some antidepressants to help me get through these difficult times. And I was having a lot of, family issues, work-related stress, and mostly I think I didn't have a meaning or purpose to wake up to. So what happened when I took one of these little tiny pills was quite significant. It was almost like a life-changing moment in my life, because I took it just before I went to bed. I hoped for a good night's sleep and waking up refreshed and rejuvenated. But what the opposite happened. My brain went into a very weird state, bizarre thoughts. I couldn't sleep all night. I was not myself, really. So the next morning I was a wreck because I couldn't get any sleep. I went back to the doctor and I said, "This is not working. Can you give me something that works?" Now, what he said shocked me at the time, and from what I know today, that it is true. It takes 4 to 6 weeks until the body gets used to the medication, so we can see the effects. Wow. And I was in a very desperate situation, and I thought, wow, I probably may not have 4 to 6 weeks to be on this planet. So I was very close to ending my life, because the suffering was far too much. What I was going through was too big. And I knew at the time that I had to find a new way, or another avenue to deal with what I was going through. So I signed up for a 10-day silent meditation retreat in a center close by, and this was my first introduction to mindfulness meditation. So it was a 10-day in silence, meditating about 10 to 12 hours every single day, which was very challenging
I
because the
would think
mind.
so.
Yeah.
So you started with 10 to 12 hours sessions?
Yes, and there's
Wow.
absolutely no distraction. You just give away all your belongings. There is no smartphones, internet, books to read. So you are basically alone with your own mind.
Hmm.
And at the time, I didn't have the healthiest mind. It was just, I call it the monkey mind. It keeps jumping back to the, past regrets and worries about the future. And it was a struggle. I contemplated around escaping, leaving the center, around day 3 or 4.
Hmm.
But the thing is, they took away all my belongings and locked them in a safe place.
Hmm.
So that wasn't an option. But what happened after 10 days was something started to shift in my life. I started to feel lighter and happier, and it's almost like I was able to see the light at the end of this dark tunnel. And since then I have made some drastic changes in my life, and this was the beginning of this journey, the journey of mindfulness, which I'm still on. It keeps getting deeper and deeper, and every single day it's a new experience.
Hmm.
So being present, this is what it taught me: being present with the ups and downs of life, and not reacting to them as violently as I normally would. So I think that was a long answer, but
Oh, it was a great. I actually thought I thought there was going to be like three more words to the end of that sentence. That's why I'm hanging on here, So, being present with a daily mind, and you stopped. All right. So, how long has it been since that time?
it started 10 years ago, and on and off I was, the idea was to cultivate a daily practice of this, because this is a practice and it only works if you practice it. So it has been 10 years since I've
Wow.
started, but at the beginning I struggled with, getting into the habit of doing a daily practice. But in the last 5 years or so, I've been, meditating almost 2 hours on a day-to-day basis,
Wow.
which helps me a lot, and I'll talk about the benefits of it probably a bit later on. But from my personal experience, it keeps me sane in an insane world. And I call this bit of an insane world because the amount of information that we have to deal with every single day it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're just hooked up into this technology addiction. The data that we have to deal with, we're going into this state of madness, so to speak, Angel.
Hmm.
And I think all of us need this skill to cope well or better, or keep that keep that sanity in our lives, keep that groundedness. And this is a skill that anybody can practice.
Yes. So why will you continue to repeat this skill? It's been 10 years, and you've seen the value of doing it and not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first couple of years were like I was on and off, and I would just go off the tangent. The life would happen. My stresses, the work will happen, and mindfulness or the meditation was the first thing to go because I didn't feel like it. But then I would see the effects, that I would actually go into this slippery slope, and things would get worse and worse and worse, and I would turn to alcohol or distraction, or distracting myself from life the best I can, whatever that might be at the time. My go-to method was drinking. I used to drink quite a lot. It's fairly common having a couple of beers after work here in Australia. And I would do that maybe 3-4 times a week. And then, the weekend happens, I would relax a little bit, do my sports and exercise, but then, go back into the working life. It was a routine of, it's like a circle, like a rat race. I was repeating the same thing again and again. And when I was keeping up my practice and going back to those 10-day retreats, or taking time off to reconnect with who I am, I would cope a lot better. I wouldn't need any of these crutches, what I would say, whatever that might be. Sometimes it's Facebook, addiction to technology, shopping, food. Food was a big one as well, emotional eating. And I see that the more I bring this into my life, things that they don't serve me so well, such as, alcohol or any other things, they seem to drop off. And I'm not forcing it to happen, but it just happens automatically. So that's the beauty of the practice. Things that they don't serve me any longer, I don't do them.
This is you're focusing on your strengths, and the things that are creating weaknesses just die right to the fire. It's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't like to classify them as strengths or weaknesses, because in the language of mindfulness, it is what it is, and we do things to get through things. Because we don't know any better. My level of consciousness was at the time wasn't what it is today. So the only way that I could cope was, through self-medicating and, watching movies or whatever it is at the time. And now I don't need them. So it's almost like when you raise your level of vibration, you seem to, operate in a different level. And my life started to change. The people I hang out with started to change. Some of my friends, I kind of lost contact because there was no common ground for us. I mean, I still love them, but there was no conversation. What I was talking about, they couldn't relate. And what they were talking about, I kind of felt like, that's not where I want to be any longer.
Wow.
So the downside of, raising your consciousness or raising your vibration is, things change, and that's the beauty of it. Can we start accepting this change with ease and grace? Because I struggled a lot, with the change. So, it has been an amazing journey, and it's still going. Angel, there's no end to it.
Well, my friend, we've blown past our first segment, and it was fun. Well, let's have some more fun, though, John. And let me invite you now into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. John, what is your earliest childhood memory?
What is my earliest childhood memory?
Yes.
Okay. Let me think. Well, let me actually go through that now. Okay. Now this is interesting because what is coming up is not very nice. What I see myself is I had this little toy car that I really liked, and my parents and we were visiting, I think, some family friends, and I remember that I dropped the car when I went to the toilet. I dropped the car into the toilet, which was not the modern toilets that we use today, but the toilets on the floor.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, and there I was. I think I was maybe 5 or 6, and I'm like, oh, okay, what is going to happen now? How am I going to get out of the toilet? So I called my mom, and now this is not a very nice picture for your listeners, I suppose, but she put her hand in and got the toy car out of that toilet, which wasn't a very pleasant memory. But I think that's the first thing that came to my mind when you asked me that question.
Why do you think this memory is so clear? Did you say how old you were, John? Is it 2 or 3?
No, I was probably around 5 or 6.
Okay. Yeah. Why do you think this memory in particular is so clear?
I don't know. Like, I had my fair amount of trauma when I was growing up. So, and I work a lot with the trauma clients, and it's quite common, not to have a lot of memories if people have experienced trauma in their lives, especially early on in their childhood. And I don't know. Maybe I'll call it a shitty memory.
Oh, I love that. Can I offer an interpretation to that thought picture?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually love it. I love the fact of what it can represent. I would say it's amazing that it was a car, which is the mode of transportation, and that you were able to not fall, or if we're using the metaphor of what the car represents as a mode of transportation, that it didn't remain in there, and that the person that connected you to receiving that again was in this case your mother, and the part of you having that coach model or that person who knows or has lived life and has experienced things to be able to guide you. So it's intriguing that she came and she took it out. And as much as in our lives, or even with your life, as you said, you were in a pretty messy situation in terms of your brain and how it was thinking and how you were thinking, and getting out of there, being taken out of there, and now having that mode of transportation, that mindfulness that you operate within, is pretty intriguing for me, how it connects.
I love your interpretation. Yeah, that puts a whole different light into that shitty situation. I love it. Yes, the car was out. Yes, it didn't stay there, and yeah, my mum came and helped me out. Yeah, absolutely.
If we
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
When I was 12 years, well, my background is Turkish, so I grew up in Turkey, and we had this beautiful man. His name was Barış Manço. He passed away probably around 19 or around year 2000. I'm not exactly sure, but I used to love him, and he had a bunch of songs that resonated with me. Obviously, I won't, sing them here because no one would understand the language. But he was my favorite singer, and I think one of the main reasons why he was my favorite one is because he had a show for kids back in the days where he would invite kids and get them to sing some of the songs, and part of the show was that he would actually travel around the world, go into the different countries, and make a little documentary each kind of week. I think it was a weekly thing. And it was fascinating to see all these different types of the world, which opened up my imagination to the whole world. And when I grew up, actually 3 years ago, my wife and we did a similar trip around the world. It lasted around 16 months. And that's where I, met your friend John as well. And we started with Bali, we did Southeast Asia, parts of India, a little bit of Europe, but the main thing was South America, which I really loved. So we were on the road for about 16 months. And it's funny because things that we watch or we see when we were children, can have a big impact on us. So it's almost like creating that vision. What do you want for yourself? And, when you want to grow up, how do you want to live your life? I think we can create that vision every single day. Because we got,
and his music is that type of meditative type of song, right? That symphony type of synth ends kind of.
Yeah, not exactly, to be honest with you, but like.
Oh really?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking at a song here called, is it Golpembe?
Ah, right. Yes, he had one of those. Yeah, that's a good one as well. That's a love song.
Okay.
It's a love song, and it's almost like a heartbreak, and in healing your heart through that, and yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually. You looked him up. Okay, that's good.
It's very it's the type of thing you play in the background, right? It's
a bit of a nostalgia, I suppose. Yeah. To as I mentioned, I had my fair amount of traumas when I was growing up, and not feeling very happy. So this guy, his words resonated with me.
Amazing. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no. John, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes, I teach regular mindfulness classes weekly, and I have ongoing courses. So yes, definitely. I mean, I think this has to be spread, and people, need to know about this.
Are you married?
I am. Yes.
Do you have children?
No, not yet.
Do you believe in God?
I do believe in a higher consciousness. You might call it God, or I call it universal divine intelligence. Yes, I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, very much so. I think we all need that support in our lives, because life can get pretty intense at times.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I don't have a TV at all, Angel. No, I don't. I don't watch TV.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? More than 8 hours a day or less than 8 hours a day?
It will depend on my day. I work for myself, so depending on how many clients I see a day and what kind of courses I'm running on that day, I would say definitely less than 8 hours. I don't like spending too much time on screen. I do have probably, 3-4 hours, depending on what's happening in my life.
Okay. John, this was a great pleasure, my friend. Yes, folks, we did go past our 12 minutes, but, he's in Australia and I'm in Trinidad, so there's a time delay.
Absolutely. And
John,
you know what?
sure.
What is time anyway, Angel?
Exactly. I keep hearing that from Australians, though.
Maybe it's just because we're so relaxed.
Well, I thought being in the Caribbean, we were the most relaxed, but it's pretty amazing. And I say that in all seriousness. I had a conversation with one woman called Natalia, and she really unwrapped the value of time for me and what it is. So it's in seriousness I'm saying it, as funny as it may sound, right? And I'm sure you are saying it in seriousness as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. John Unal, thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you, Angel.
Amazing audience. Before you leave, there's one person I'd like to introduce you to, Amanda Jones. She is my wife, and her passion is to educate, encourage, and empower.
Hi, I'm Amanda Jones, and I'm a registered nurse. Do you or someone you know have diabetes? According to the International Diabetes Federation, in 2015 worldwide, 415 million people were living with diabetes. Just as that figure is overwhelming, so too can the effects of diabetes be. So, to help simplify diabetes for both adult and child, I've used rhymes in my books, The ABCs of Diabetes for Children and Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes. At its simplest, rhymes help us to remember. If you, a child or friend, want an easy, reader-friendly way to know about diabetes, then get a copy of these books. For more details, you can go to poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.